Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast, the PHNX Cardinals podcast. I can subscribe, leave a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Pick up a fresh new tee from the merchandise locker. Shop the number 18 collection. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always my co-host Brack in Studio K. We got producer Jacob behind the mic today. Get to talk a little Paris Johnson Jr., Brack.
Absolutely. The new franchise left tackle, Paris Johnson Jr., he joined the NFL Network, their Insiders show yesterday. Had some great insight as far as the Arizona Cardinals as he enters in year 2 and just kind of his aspirations, where he sees this offense going. And it just continues to kind of pound home the fact that we've got a new era of Cardinals football, and everybody should be excited about it, Johnny.
Yeah, long before the Arizona Cardinals made Marvin Harrison Jr. a top 5 pick out of Ohio State, it was Paris Johnson Jr. ushering in a new era of Cardinal football. And again, I think, fair or not, he gets ignored. He gets overseen where, I believe his comments. He is poised to become a franchise left tackle. And that's the new standard, thankfully, that he and Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort have set. We got almost 70 people live watching. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. We are quickly approaching 30,000 subscribers. What's up, everybody? Ozzy221, K2, Jessica. Special shout out to all of our diehards shopping the number 18 collection. And I'm ready to shop the Paris Johnson Jr. collection at some point. I can't get a Marv jersey yet. Is it time to get an oversized Paris jersey? A nice, what is he, number 70?
He is number 70.
Should I just get a big number 70 and rep it here in the Valley?
I would have said at this point last year that might have been your safest bet as far as where you would invest your money in a jersey, right?
Yeah.
Because, he was going to be at least under contract for 4 years. He has the 5th-year option. And, we were encouraged from what we saw from the best tackle in the 2023 class. And sure, the 70 numbers, they're not sexy, but I think you're seeing Paris Johnson Jr. brings a little bit more oomph to the position than like your standard tackle does. Like he's athletic. He gets out there. He's fun in front of the microphone, and way more likable. I think he's got a little bit of his own brand going on. Just his philanthropic endeavors off the field are just unbelievable. What he's doing with the Tillman Foundation, what he did, in his during his Ohio State tenure. It's just fantastic. And I think it's somebody that you would proudly wear the number 70 jersey for. But is it as sexy as a big time playmaker like Marvin Harrison Jr.? No, but here's what I will say though. As much as I can't wait for MHJ to hit the field with Kyler Murray and crew and this offense take off, the Paris Johnson Jr. selection, that is more in line with what this organization is going to want to do in the draft going forward. Like we told you this, and we're steadfast with this messaging throughout the draft process that, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the exception to the way that they want to build at the top of the draft. They want to continue to emphasize premium positions, whether it's a tackle position, whether it's an edge rusher, whether it's a cornerback. I think that's where they want to go as far as building this roster, because they can lean on, obviously, those team-friendly rookie contracts and immediate impact players coming from the collegiate level that they, can identify and immediately put onto their 53 and move forward with that and get it. Like they want front 7 guys, and they want guys who play on the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the football.
There's an alternate reality in which Joe Alt and Paris Johnson Jr. are the tackles for this team this year. Like, had the Cardinals won, God forbid, just one more game last year, it's likely Joe Alt that's a top 10 selection. Who knows? Paris Johnson Jr., he may, but he may not switch positions from right tackle to left tackle. But I think back to like this draft season, and we kept using a word with Marvin Harrison Jr. that I think was overplayed, and that was safe, right? It was a safe pick. But he also had the biggest ceiling of any singular player, including Caleb Williams in this draft class. And I look back and I'm like, actually, it was Paris Johnson Jr. last year that was the safest pick for the Arizona Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And you don't typically think that with a tackle, right? Because we have been conditioned as Cardinal fans to think tackle, Levi Brown, right? Levi Bust. these guys that are just immediate turnstiles. It's one of the reasons why we're also sad to see DJ Humphries go, because while he was a project early in his career, he became the most stable first-round tackle this franchise has drafted since coming to Arizona. Like outside of Lomas Brown, it's he and DJ Humphries as the stalwarts. And then there's Paris Johnson Jr. And I emphasize that word safe. Doesn't miss a snap last year. Doesn't embarrass himself in any way, shape, or form. Like I know he gave up a handful of sacks last year. I named one of them, right? I can't remember the last time he got smoked off the edge. And then you talk about the relatability, how reliable he is, how he's an ambassador now for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't want to say recruiting MHJ during the season, but like certainly talking up the Cardinal program, talking up Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon. And then like every single time that the Arizona Cardinals bring a player to the facility for a workout or a draft prospect, Paris Johnson Jr. is like in the parking lot.
Right.
So he checks every single box from a collegiate player that, oh, by the way, played on a top 4 team in college football at Ohio State. Like we had his offensive line coach on. He is a complete checker of boxes stalwart that you want for your franchise. And that's why like we have immense expectations for Marvin Harrison Jr. But man, if he just equals what Paris Johnson Jr. did this past year and the trajectory he's on, I mean, we beat this dead horse. We're going to continue to do so over time. The Cardinals were just so poorly run from a personnel developmental standpoint. They ignored Ohio State players for the better part of 10 years. Like outside of Beanie Wells, I can't remember a marquee Ohio State player that the Cardinals have drafted yet. And I bring this up all the time. They adopted their uniforms. They took Paris, they took Marvin, and they're on the upward trajectory. There's something to that in my mind.
Yeah, they're going to be their minor league affiliate. They're just going to be the feeder for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find. I think there's probably only 5 programs that you would say that's acceptable for in the college ranks. You know, throw LSU in that conversation. Alabama, of course, is in that conversation. And you start to look around and it gets a little bit tighter and tighter. But Ohio State firmly in that conversation, if not the best. I mean, we've shown before that they have just monopolized, end of the year awards for your first year players, right? I mean, they've been taking home defensive and offensive rookie of the year honors. It feels like for the last half decade. And like, it was egregious that, Steve Keim had more players from Murray State drafted than he did out of Ohio State.
That's unbelievable.
That's fireable. And the guy resigned. The guy got a chance to unceremoniously resign. But, that's a different, more, disgusting conversation that I don't want to have right now as we celebrate, this new era. But, more on the point of what you were saying is like Paris Johnson Jr., the first guy that, newcomers to this organization are going to be greeted by. Like it wasn't just MHJ. It was Christian Jones, a 5th-round pick out of Texas that has potential to play on this line in the future. And he said the first guy that he was greeted by was Paris Johnson Jr., who's just getting into his 2nd season with the organization. He's a blue chip talent that's embracing the opportunity to carve out his spot in this league for the Arizona Cardinals. And he's wearing that Cardinals red and white proudly, where I feel like some people just did it because that's what they were, they were selected by the organization, and that's just where they were going to make their money. That's where they were just going to get their opportunity. Where I feel like Paris Johnson Jr., he wanted this. He wanted to come to the Valley. He wanted to come to where Senior played some football and continue that and make his own name and carve out his own legacy and do it proudly wearing a Cardinals uniform and buying into what Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort are building here. And you could absolutely see it. Like, PJJ said this to us, like he didn't feel like he needed to have that rookie season, like to just figure it out. It's like, hey, find a place to live, get your kind of bearings around the facility. But like, once you do that, like once you know where the cafeteria is, where the weight room is, what is expected as far as as far as putting your process in place to prepare yourself for each and every Sunday, that's now you're not a rookie. You're a professional football player, and like whatever expectations you want to set for yourself, go ahead and take them.
Yeah, I just think about like what you said, like having those expectations and meeting them head on. And you go to this quote that he has saying, for lack of a better term, like my goal is to be the best tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's the new standard for the Arizona Cardinals. But there was Another player that kind of exemplified that, and I feel like was kind of laughed at and mocked, certainly mocked right now, is Kyler Murray, where he would say, our goal is to win the Super Bowl. And there'd be a lot of people nationally and maybe even locally like, what is he talking about? And I just think it's kind of ironic that Kyler Murray, his goal is to be a winner, to be a champion, coming from Oklahoma, a top program in collegiate football, right, at the collegiate level. And then you get Paris Johnson Jr. saying, I want to be the league's best tackle, and nobody bats an eye. And it's just like, there are similarities between Kyler and Paris Johnson Jr., which is why they are such good friends. And it's like, they finally now have players like Paris and like Michael Wilson. I think James Conner fits this mold, and certainly Marv, who have the kind of ferocity and willingness to be great that Kyler Murray has always had. And I don't want to bring this into like a Kyler Murray conversation, but I do feel like, to your point earlier, there were so many unserious people associated from an administrative standpoint, and then selecting players that were unserious about winning, where Kyler Murray's trying to rally people around like, hey, this is our goal. We want to do X, Y, and Z. And you had this kind of hodgepodge of overpaid veterans who had made their money, collecting checks, had success elsewhere, and then young players who did not know what it took to be great. And now it's like, okay, you add a Paris Johnson Jr. who immediately sets the bar, raises the standards for what a rookie first-round pick looks like. This is the bar now. He had unequivocally the best rookie offensive line season for any singular player since they moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, you put Paris Johnson Jr. in the category of a Dan Deerdorf. For those of you who don't know who that is, go look him up. And a Conrad Dobler, historically, for a Cardinal football offensive lineman. That's the standard now. And so you layer on top of that every single season with every selection in April's draft. And I have no doubt that number 18 is going to carry that baton. But that was never a standard set by any player. I think Kyler Murray tried, offensive rookie of the year, and then you took a big fart the next year with an off-ball linebacker safety out of the ACC. And then just went, and I love Zaven Collins. His development was derailed by Vance Joseph. There was a huge jump. Don't act like there's not, from Tulsa to the NFL.
Right.
He did not have the coaching. I think
there's no championship aspiration. That's also all respect to the Golden Hurricane out there, right?
But he needed an infrastructure that was not present. I mean, whereas Paris and Marvin and Kyler make the infrastructure.
I mean, Kyler Murray came from Oklahoma. That's always, especially when they were under Lincoln Riley and Bob Stoops, they were always in the conversation, to be near the top of the BCS or in the college football playoff. And that's where Kyler Murray came from. And like, we're going to pound you over the head, beat the dead horse, as Johnny mentioned, about the old regime and their flaws. But, taking guys out of these non-Power 5 schools thinking you're too smart for the room, and you're going to show everybody, you're not taking people that even in their amateur careers are vying for a championship. And Kyler Murray comes in and has that mindset and continued that mindset. And thank God it wasn't beaten out of him. But, there were people that there wasn't any true accountability in this organization. It's like the check still cashed, and you could still reach some statistics, and you could still be perceived as a good NFL player, but there was never like a true buy-in of like, hey, we want to get to this one goal. We want to get to this goal of winning the final game in the season. And I don't think, like, if that's your mentality, first off, they've probably already weeded you out. Like we've seen a lot of the people we've talked about during this conversation already weeded out of this organization. And it's like, you got guys that are coming in that, it's like, hey, I expect to compete. If I'm in high school, I'm competing for the state championship. If I'm going to college, I'm seeking a place where I can go compete for a championship. And then you get drafted in the pros. Like, why does it change? And I like that those guys are like going to be stubborn in that way, and that they're finally going to bring that type of mentality to the desert. One more thing, I want to. You mentioned DJ Humphries, man. I mean, the guy redshirted his rookie season with the Arizona Cardinals. He didn't play a snap. He was inactive every single game for the Arizona Cardinals in 2015. So you already look at where Paris Johnson was, in a tip of the cap to Kevin Patra of NFL.com, who repurposed the interview he did with the insiders Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo yesterday, kind of going through the quotes and where PJ is. but also gave like true context to his rookie season instead of ESPN Seth Waldron, who just wanted to hang his hat on a certain like pressure rate percentage and where he finished the season, which is just ridiculous and doesn't give like a true idea of where he is. And like Kevin just said, Paris allowed 42 pressures and 8 sacks playing right tackle last season, but he didn't allow a sack in his last 3 games and just gave up 1 hurry over those final 2 tilts. That's important information. That Seth Waldron, who had the Arizona Cardinals way down his offseason rankings, and this fear pornography about the offensive line that doesn't exist just based off a umbrella statistic.
Well, look back to our, if you can find it, our breakdown with Baldy the Tuesday after they beat the Philadelphia Eagles and what Paris Johnson Jr. did to the defensive line for Philadelphia and what he did to guys like Jordan Davis and Hassan Reddick. I mean, he erased people that day. Like you talk about somebody being unblockable defensively. It was the reverse of that as the Arizona Cardinals ran roughshod over Philadelphia and had the upset for Jonathan Gannon and company. Like that was Paris's coming out party. And God forbid a team that outside of the Packers, I think played the most rookie snaps in the NFL, get better and have an upward trajectory where, maybe if you average all the contributions from 1 to 17, weeks 1 to 17, it doesn't look the best, but then maybe take the back half of the season. I don't know, the final 4 games of the regular season. It's kind of like the Green Bay Packers, who were not a good team at the beginning of last year. They were an afterthought. And guess what? They got better every single week en route to almost making the NFC Championship game. They played the most collection of rookies last year. The difference is they got a big-time head coach, and I believe in Jonathan Gannon, but Matt LaFleur's won a Super Bowl or has been to a Super Bowl. And then also Jordan Love was healthy all year. Like, imagine what Paris Johnson would be able to do if Kyler Murray was his quarterback all season last year and the heights that this offense would have reached and is going to reach this year. It's funny, like you mentioned DJ Humphries. I remember that rookie year in 2015. Yeah. And I went to the Edward Jones Dome that year to watch the Cardinals play the Rams. And I remember they would work out. Bruce Arians would but it was part of his development. DJ Humphries would go out and work out with the offensive line coach, Harold something, and they would go and work out before the game. And he wasn't anywhere close to being ready. It's why he was inactive, right? Mm-hmm. Just he wasn't ready to participate. Mm-hmm. And the stark difference between that to a player that's coming on a very different team than that 2015 team, but a team that's coming in, playing 3 quarterbacks and doesn't miss a snap. Like, I love DJ Humphries. There's a reason why Paris has those expectations. His ceiling is a top 5 tackle in the NFL. He is already, in my opinion, a top 5 to 6 player for the Arizona Cardinals entering this year. I have no doubt, as do you, that he's going to be a captain on this team. He's their franchise left tackle. He should be on everybody's top 25, under 25. It's ridiculous that he's not. But again, everybody, as Mina Kimes said, is a year behind on this team. Yeah. So if there's one player outside of Kyler and Marv and the guys we talk about all the time, Trey McBride, that if you look up in December, January, everybody's going to perk up. It's like, hey, Arizona's got a franchise left tackle under 23 years old making no money. That's one of the most, outside of QB contracts, the desirable contract that you'd want to secure in the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like that goes back to my point of like what their true draft philosophy is. And it's nice to get playmakers like Marvin Harrison Jr. We're going to see that, the benefits of that. But at the same time, why they would do that is because you're getting a guy that's, at a position where when you hit the free agent market or you're in negotiating an extension, they're making $20-25 million a season, and it's not inexpensive. So like what's going on in the chat, you guys are crushing it out there. Alpha Male JV, absolutely. I love the username. We're a top 10 offense for sure. Also, we've got a couple up. Let's see. K2 just saying we're going to win 10 plus games. But look, the offensive line, it just seems to be a very cohesive unit. Like, I haven't seen anything like as far as the pre-season, pre-training camp rankings that are like where they're just crushing this offensive line. Like the biggest thing that they've said is they're kind of anonymous, right? Like you don't know too much. Like you don't know Yelda Frold. He's not a household name. Like the last time people saw Will Hernandez was he was a former second round pick of the New York Giants that, it didn't work well his first stint in the NFL, but it's worked out pretty well for the Arizona Cardinals the last couple seasons. And then, Paris Johnson Jr., who was the 6th overall pick the previous season. But, the less you hear about an offensive lineman, it's usually the better. And then they bring over Jonah Williams and what we know about him, and former first-round pick out of Bama, left tackle to right tackle last year, and then probably Evan Brown at the left guard position. So I think it's a solid unit. Evan Brown's already endeared himself to that tight-knit group, and I think it just bodes well for them to pick up where they left off last season and like to look at some offensive line rankings where, they're 20 or lower than that. I just think that's a tremendous oversight.
Yeah, again, like people want to cherry pick stats, so I'll do the same thing. Like Paris Johnson Jr. had one segment of the season where he gave up some sacks and some pressures, and he wasn't terrible by any means. You know who those defensive lines were? Pittsburgh, Cleveland. His worst game was with Cleveland when the Cardinals basically threw Clayton Tune to the Wolves, the LA Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers. You could argue those are 4 of the top 7 fronts in the NFL, maybe 4 of the top 5 fronts in the NFL when you consider Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett. I think he gave up a sack early in the season, and Micah Parsons. So he is playing the best defensive lineman in the NFL. So I don't expect him to go out and dominate those players year one. But to your point, as you mentioned, what did he do to end the year? Well, he went to Chicago, had a really good game, went to Philadelphia, had a damn near 80 pass block grade. They couldn't do anything, and then had arguably his best game of the year against Seattle at home. Like the Cardinals were in a position to win that game multiple times. We wouldn't be repping this gear if they did. But at the same time, it's like, okay, Paris Johnson Jr., the trajectory is there for him to be, I know he wants to be the best tackle in the NFL this year. And the Pro Bowl, and we've talked about this, is very much a popularity competition. But like if Paris Johnson Jr. is a top 10 tackle this year, I mean, we're doing handstands and cartwheels. I mean, it's unequivocally a huge success. And I think you start talking about, maybe I'm a year early on this, like you get Trey McBride locked up after this year, assuming he doubles down on what he did a year ago. And then I think it's like Paris Johnson Jr. It's like, okay, he's on 5-year contract, 5th-year option, but that is somebody that projects as a long-term piece that's going to be making $100+ million for this team.
I mean, we're generally seeing it with position players, non-quarterbacks, going into their 5th year that they negotiate that. Quarterbacks, it's once you're eligible, once you've played your 3rd season in the league and you can renegotiate that, they're talking extension. But yeah, I mean, he's probably like, it's Trey McBride and then who's getting paid next. And it's most likely going to be Paris Johnson Jr., unless you're looking at somebody else in their draft class that emerges who's on a 4-year deal, doesn't have the 5th-year option. We're hoping it's, BJ Ojulari, Garrett Williams, Michael Wilson making the case for an extension after their 3rd season next year.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet on Paris Johnson Jr. Every day, all day. And speaking of Bet365, never ordinary. I want to shout out in the comments here. Let's see if I can find this comment. Producer Jacob, somebody dabbled with the bonus code PHNX 365 and was locked into some WNBA parlays. Here it is. Joey downloaded Bet365 or 365 yesterday using the PHNX code and put a huge parlay with my free bets on the WNBA. We will see. We'll love that. You'll have to let us know how you do, Joey. In the meantime, Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide and early payouts across damn near every landscape of the betting scene: NBA, NHL, NFL, and Major League Baseball. They also live stream, if you didn't know this, 780,000 events each year. It is well known, a pioneer in the live in-game betting scene, and we are proud to have them as our newest partner here at PHNX Sports. And again, they don't do the ordinary. They believe every sport should be epic, and right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use the bonus code, as I mentioned, PHNX 365 to sign up, deposit $10, and choose between either. So you can either bet and get an offer in place, a bet of $5 or more and get 150 in bonus bets, Or you've got the first bet safety net, Bo, by placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, if you win, you get your monies. If it loses, you receive a match refund in bonus bets. Again, you want to make sure you download the Bet365 app and you use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up to get those sweet, sweet bonus bets. Again, 21 years and older, and you do have to physically be located here in Arizona. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and they want to help, be sure to call 1-800-NEXT-STEPS. Text NEXT STEPS to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov/help.
Unbelievably professional read right there. And best of luck on the WNBA bets that were put with the promo code PHNX. Hopefully you can just build that stack, build and build and build. And then maybe spend some of that money on some delicious Four Peaks beer. I'll tell you, when we get into the 999 challenge on Saturday, it pained me so much to see all the delicious Four Peaks beer that was available around Chase Field and that we weren't going to dabble in it. We had to dabble in some, we were just trying to get the job done. And, it wasn't about the best tasting beer. It was about the beer that we could put down the quickest.
Yeah.
And, but I'll tell you what, Damon even said after the 999 challenge, he was enjoying some nice frost cold, Bad Birdie Ale, which is fantastic right now. It's one of the new beers with Four Peaks. It's one of the best summer just drinking beers. I love the Bad Birdie. Also, you've got, how about the Wow Wheat? So fantastic. I like the light Wow Wheat as well. The Redbird Lager should be back in full force this fall. And let's not forget about what also comes with fall, that pumpkin porter. It's going to be here before you know it. You got to keep up with what's going on at Four Peaks. Obviously, you can find them on your socials at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub. Check out their 8th Street location. It's unbelievable. It's been there over 25 years. You get into this 100-year-old building, and they've got it's brewed right there on location. They've got a great full menu from appetizers to entrees to desserts. Four Peaks is a spot you want to go. It's Arizona's original brewery. So fantastic. Check it out. Got to be 21 years or older. And if you don't want to go to the 8th Street location, you can check out their website, fourpeaks.com, find their brew locator. You can probably find it at Circle K or a store near you. Four Peaks. We love them. It's our official beer of PHNX Sports.
I just love walking into the Tempe location of Four Peaks and getting the aroma of the atmosphere, the great food, obviously
those
the beverages.
hops.
Absolutely. It's a great smelling place. I would typically say that about all things NFL.com, but something smells, Bo, a little rank. And it's Adam Rank's predictions for the Arizona Cardinals because they stink. They're terrible. And I guess reluctantly we have to break them down here on the show.
Yeah. So NFL Network, NFL.com personality Adam Rank took to social media recently, I think at NFL, and did a full game-by-game schedule prediction for the Arizona Cardinals. And here's my biggest criticism of it. We'll get into where he went really wrong, but it was just so uneven. Like the games that I would say the Arizona Cardinals should win, he had them kind of losing. He had them have a random win against one of the teams I think is going to be really rock solid in 2024. I just didn't feel like there was just no rhythm to what Adam Rank was trying to do as far as his 2024 Arizona Cardinals game-by-game record prediction.
Okay.
We want to show his final record prediction. We'll go through it here. So he has him, Johnny, opening up the season on the road up in Rough Buff with a loss to the Bills, which is fine. Then coming home, dropping a game week 2 to the LA Rams, and then randomly beating the Detroit Lions at home, taking down the Washington Commanders, which I agree with, and then dropping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight to the Niners, Packers, Chargers, Dolphins, Bears, and Jets in week 10, and then going on a little bit of a run and winning 4 of 5, sweeping the Seahawks, dropping a game on the road to the Vikings, beating the Pats, taking down the Panthers, and then finishing the season with back-to-back losses against the Rams and the Niners to finish with a 6-11 record.
Yeah, can we see that again, producer Jacob? Again, if you start 2-2, I think a lot of Cardinal fans would take that. Like I think this podcast would take that. You start 2-2 with those 4 teams. Washington, you have to get a dub. Anybody, I think, in the chat would sign up right now with the prospects of who they have in the second half of the season. Where I have a big issue with is look at the teams in that 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Miami, which we will be at that game in attendance in South Beach. Tons of turnover this offseason. The Chargers gutted their roster. They're a rebuilding team. I believe you play them at home. Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, a nice story last year. Do a lot of people feel like they come down to earth at the beginning of this year? You're losing to Caleb Williams at home, and I like Chicago fine. And then an aging Aaron Rodgers. You cannot lose back-to-back games to the joke New York Jets and then subsequently the week before to a rookie Caleb Williams. You can't lose games to Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy. You just can't. And I like the fact that he's got them sweeping Seattle. That's a necessity. But it's a quarterback lead. The Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray have an advantage against those teams. You want to tell me that they lose to superior quarterbacks? I can understand that. That makes sense to me. Buffalo with Josh Allen, Stafford, as we've talked about, Tua, Aaron Rodgers with one leg at 100 years old. And then, as we mentioned, a bunch of rookies. That does not compute. For me, it's Jonathan Gannon has an advantage defensively when he's going up against a young quarterback, and Kyler Murray is the superior player. So I like some of it. It's not as bad as the initial record, sticker price shell shock would indicate, but there has to be more W's the front end of the season, because otherwise, as you saw, Cardinals can make a run in the second half. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't, right? And it's like they're randomly going to beat the Detroit Lions, who are one of the more balanced rosters, deeper rosters in the league, ton of expectations. They're just going to beat them, beat Washington, and then just fall apart. Like, the only thing that would make sense for them to go on a 6-game skid like that is if they had significant injuries, key injuries, especially one at the quarterback position. But if they get consistent quarterback play, like I don't see any way that they can't stop the bleeding and that they're gonna suffer a 6-game skid, especially at that juncture in the schedule. Like, it just to a lot of the points you made. Like, I know people are trying to really jump on and jumpstart a Jets hype train, but I see that as very fraudulent. And then, between what I've deemed the wild card spot of their schedule between the Chargers on that faux Monday night game that you might be able to find on your smartphone or something like that, and then you got the Dolphins,
Nintendo
the Bears, and the Jets. Like, if they drop all 4 of those games, like, look out. Like, we'll be hovering our hand over the panic button if that comes to fruition.
I'm going to tell you right now, like, I like the Chicago Bears this year. I think they're going to be competitive. I think Matt Eberflus is a big-time fraud, and I think that a lot of us forget how bad that Bears team was last year at times, and the fact that, listen,
full disclosure, Adam Rank is a Bears fan.
They beat the Minnesota Vikings 12-10 in one of the most unwatchable games ever. Yeah. Here are the teams they beat last year. They beat the Chicago Bears, beat the Washington Commanders, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah. They beat the Raiders, one of the worst teams in the NFL. They beat the Panthers by 3 points at home at Soldier Field, the worst team in the NFL. They beat Joshua Dobbs, or whatever was left of Minnesota, in week 12 by 2 points, 12-10. Their only viable win of the year. They beat Detroit at home, a divisional game. Anything can go, 28-13. Then they beat the Cardinals, what was left of them at the end of last year, and they beat the Falcons. Falcons that they were rotating Taylor Heineke and the guy Desmond Ridder, who's now backing up Kyler Murray. The Bears were one of the most fraudulent winning teams at the end of last year. So you're telling me right now, and I like Caleb Williams, and he's going to be a really good player. And Keenan Allen, and everybody is excited about Roma Dunze. Bears got a nice collection of talent. Bears are not going on like 12-5.
Right.
Get that shit out of here. They're not coming across country to Arizona in the second month of Caleb Williams and beating the Cardinals. They're just not. And then the Cardinals are not losing to the Jets. The Jets are the most overrated team in the NFL.
I mean, it's that people are beer bonging the Bears Kool-Aid right now. Like, they love the offseason. It's just like, they look at where they were last year at this time. Everybody was buying the Justin Fields hype. They were going to be the team. It was the same thing. It's like, are they the new Denver Broncos? Are they gonna is their fan base ever gonna learn their lesson? Like, you can win the offseason as much as you want. Does it translate to regular season wins? Is the guy that you're deciding to move forward with the head coach? Is he the right leader of men? Like, that's going to be an interesting part of their schedule to see. Like, they're gonna know a little bit more about Eberflus by that point, and his seat potentially could be hot. I just don't see it during that little part of their schedule where they're going losing 4 straight, especially the Chargers, Dolphins, Bears, Jets, because if so, something's gone rotten in the desert. And I just don't think that's the case. I just don't think Jonathan Gannon with a much improved roster is going to let his team bleed out like that.
There's just every year there's the holy trinity of teams that are pubbed up by the national media because they have big markets and then fall on their face and we laugh at them. It is the Denver Broncos, the New York Jets, and the Chicago Bears. Yeah. Every year, like clockwork, take those teams unders with our friends at Bet365 and it will make you money. Parlay it right now. I'm sure you can do it with Bet365. Those are 3 of the biggest joke franchises in the league, and the Cardinals are going to take losses to 2 of those teams. You rest assured that folks nationally are going to pick the Cardinals to lose to the Broncos in the preseason game because everybody is pubbing up Denver now, led by 8th-year senior Bo Nix and his rag arm. These are the easiest things to telegraph to make you money this NFL season.
So what's it actually look like? I mean, if we're doing this, and I know we've done this exercise probably to a fault, but you and I believe, especially with how this Bills organization is in flux, that a win in the opener is possible. I mean, are you ready to bet on it? Cardinals are 7-point dogs.
I am ready.
You got the Rams week 2. You got the Lions at home week 3. Commanders, Cliffy comes home. That's got to be an absolute dub, as Rank does predict here. Niners, Packers, a couple teams that faced off in the divisional round. And then you got the Chargers, who were picking just right behind the Cardinals this past season. Like, did they do enough to improve their roster? Like, sure, they switched out head coaches, and that should help. But is the roster where it needs to be enough for them to be the definitive favorite at home or on the road against the Cardinals on Monday Night Football? Probably not. And then the Dolphins, thank God Dame is not here to defend them. Like, there was a ton of talent that left that organization this past season.
The Dolphins are one of the easiest teams to hedge on a major regression this year. And by major, I mean, like, that's a 7-10 team this year. I think that division as a whole takes a step back. I think Buffalo could win that division with 10 games. And I think the AFC has a little bit of a retread year. But the talent discrepancy in the NFC just can't be ignored. And the Cardinals, to me, you flip that Jets game and the Bears game, and suddenly now the Cardinals are 8-9 and much closer to the 9-8 projection that you and I had to begin this year. Making the playoffs as a 7 seed at 9-8. Very doable, right? But you can't be losing to rookies, and you can't be losing to the Eberfluses and the fraud Robert Salehs. Like, Jonathan Gannon has to solidify himself as at least a good head coach in the NFL. We think he's good, but of course he would tell you got to win games. And then the flip of that 8-9 to 9-8 is you can't get swept by the Rams and the Niners.
Right.
You can't, because we just outlined it. You can beat these teams with the fraudulent QBs and the fraudulent head coaches. If you're still getting swept by Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, it's going to be very difficult for you to find yourself playing in January.
Can you imagine, though? I mean, if they get if they are able to sweep the Seahawks and then they could just get one win over,
that's all it takes.
Yeah, you go 3-3 in the division and you're in a decent spot. But like, if you're beating one of those teams and then you're dropping teams to these other organizations, and what this prediction tells me is people are discounting the head coaching position. As you said, you got Saleh, you got Eberflus, and also discounting how hard it is to play quarterback at the NFL level. And a loss, albeit on the road, to Minnesota all the way in week 13, like, just chalk it up. Like, I won't accept that. Like, that's a game where the Cardinals should be very competitive and should be able to get out of there with a dub, even though the organization hasn't won there since like the 70s. Like, we're going to know a whole lot about JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold in that quarterback position by that time in the season. And hopefully it bodes well for the Cardinals.
Love this super chat. Ojulari, friend of the program, $1.99. Cardinals will make the playoffs Mark my word. Well, we're betting on it here. You can too, with our friends at Bet365. Thank you so much, Illadre. And again, as Jessica's outlined, you got to get some dubs, got to get some wins in the NFC West. And the Cardinals went 0 for this year. So I think a lot of people are scoffing at the idea that they suddenly can become competitive or competent. But again, you played all of last year without your quarterback for the most part. Like, say what you want about Eberflus and how, people are assuming that he's going to be just the Renaissance coach of the year. He's better coach of the year odds than Jonathan Gannon, for God's sakes. He had his quarterback all year. He had Justin Fields all year. And they were still not a playoff team. And they were still winning games in the teens, 12-10. 13-16 against Carolina. The Bears had one of, by the way, the easiest schedule last year. They played the NFC South last year. Not great. Not great, Bob. So I do feel like at the end of the day, when you look at these, we're going to be dealing with this for another 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
These projections, it's like, look at the quarterback matchups, Adam. Look at the quarterback matchups, and then look at the guys like Robert Saleh and Eberflus that their fan bases wanted fired in December and January.
Right.
They were waiting on Black Monday. Where are the heads rolling? Yeah. And now we're just assuming these teams are going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
What's changed? They're the same guys.
Hey, look, I mean, you're counting out a 40-year-old that had an Achilles tear that said drown out the noise and focus on football, and then took a pre-planned trip to Egypt during mandatory minicamp. Like, you're betting against that guy?
Robert Saleh dyes his beard and is Mr. Cool Guy with his bald head, winning 4 games a year and can't put together a competent offense. Who's still running that offense, by the way?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah. The Hack Man. MP 199. Fields was hurt for 5 games. Didn't the Chicago Bears win games with that undrafted rookie that was tatted up? Who was that last year?
Tyson
Badgett.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about Justin Fields being hurt. When he played, they lost. They lost games. They lost more often than not when Justin Fields was their quarterback last year.
Yeah.
But then,
he just pointed out that you said he was relatively healthy. He missed some time.
He missed 5 games last year? Or was that the year before, maybe?
That 12-10 game you mentioned was it Monday Night Football? It was the Dobbs father. He threw 4 picks and the Bears squeaked out a win, all field goals.
He missed 4 games. They finished with Justin Fields in the lineup 4-2. And they scored over 31 time. And then he put up 9 points in Lambeau. Why are we even talking about Justin Fields? I'm making the point when Eberflus had his quarterback, they couldn't win games.
Right. Yeah.
And I like Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be very viable. This is not an anti-Caleb Williams podcast. But to think Caleb Williams is going to come in Arizona and beat Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray, I just don't buy that. As maybe in a year or two, not this year. No thanks.
So we got the Cardinals more around 9-8, 10-7, 6-11. That, albeit an improvement, it would be tough, especially if you got a 6-game skid in there, and that's not acceptable. Like the organization, JG would tell you that himself. Like that ain't happening.
This podcast is going to be fuming if that happens, and you're gonna have to put us out. As hot as it is in Arizona, you're gonna have to spray me with a hose to cool me down. And speaking of cooling down, you can cool down right now with our friends at Circle K, America's thirst stop. Thankfully, I'm not that hot, but I am a little bit dehydrated, and I need to go pick up a 79-cent Polar Pop or Froster right now. You can too, now through September 3rd at any Arizona location. All you got to do, join the Inner Circle, which is the Circle K app, for free right now. Download it today and find out why everybody's fired up about America's thirst stop on their smartphone or mobile device. Again, it's a free membership program where you can save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups and then 3 cents per gallon every single day. You like free stuff? I do too. And you can always get hooked up with the Inner Circle offers, whether it's Polar Pops, Frosters, or whatever. Scan and save with Circle K. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations, Bo. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
I love it. Love the Frosters. Love the Polar Pops. 79 cents. Tough to beat that. And right now there's a promo in the Inner Circle app where you can save 10 cents per gallon. You got to check it out yourself. Also, you have to join us at the end of this month. Training camp's going to be in full effect, but you're going to want to get out to Glendale for another reason. July 27th, we have our PHNX 2024 Summer Pickleball Tournament at Chicken and Pickle. This is going to be elite. That's right. Saturday, July 27th from 9 to noon. And this all the proceeds for this tournament are going to go to the State 48 Foundation. Great cause right there. There's limited spots. So get your team signed up today. Head over to gophnx.com and /events. Get your duo signed up, or you could be a single at gophnx.com/events. If you haven't checked out Chicken and Pickle, maybe go get back in the lab before the tournament, get that swing right, get your paddle dialed in. What's that?
Bo and Damon don't want the smoke.
I think Damon has got a different partner. The dynamic duo is going to have to wait. I think I'm going to partner up with my wife, my life
That's
partner.
That's going to throw you for. I mean, I don't know if you're ready for that, Bo.
I don't know if we're ready for it either. But look, that's roster decisions were made, and I think that's what I'm going with. Join us.
Damon got?
I think Totri. So
yeah, it's beatable.
I like my situation a little bit better.
Yeah,
I like my situation a little bit better. As Johnny dropped the Borat, my wife. I also appreciate that. I didn't miss that. If you haven't seen Chicken and Pickle, it's got delicious food, unbelievable menu there. Also, they've got the handcrafted cocktails, great ice cold beer. Check it out for yourself. And of course, the best pickleball courts in the Valley, just in the shadow of State Farm Stadium in Glendale. Head over to chickenandpickle.com to see all the fun you can have at their Glendale location.
We've got Bears fans in the chat. I'm here for it. Here we go. First of all, Illadre coming back, $4.99. Why do people talk about Fields like he's an all-pro? Kyler's worst season, better than Fields. Best to see the bias. Again, I think that speaks to Illadre. This next super chat from MP, again, $1.99. We appreciate the engagement, my guy, MP. Fields destroyed the Cardinals, and Caleb is better. Fields had one of the worst passing games in the NFL last year when he played the Cardinals. But you're right. He ran around on the Cardinals' XFL practice squad level defensive line. Congratulations. The Bears defense.
He almost threw him back into that game.
Right, he was terrible.
Thompson, as the game should have been in hand, and gave the Arizona Cardinals a sliver of a chance. It was a brutal performance on Christmas Eve by the Cardinals. I'll give them that.
No doubt.
But if we're gonna sit here and try to play up that Justin Fields was a decent quarterback day, you're not gonna sell me on that. And if you need any proof, check out the depth chart in Pittsburgh. Check out him, working out with the running backs and fielding punts as well.
He completed 55% of his throws against the Cardinals.
Yeah. Elite. Destroyed him.
MP, I love you, my guy or gal. You must be new here. We had to field off Justin Fields and Marvin Harrison Jr. tandems for about 2 months, and then Bears fans had to come to football Jesus moment and welcome Caleb Williams to town. So yeah. I do think it's going to be a good game.
I've got good. Caleb's going to be good.
I've got family coming into town from Chicago. I got like 6 people coming into Phoenix that week that are going to that game. They've been on Game Time. They're looking for tickets. It is one of the most expensive games of the year I've already seen for the Cardinals hosting Chicago. Like, you look the next week at the Jets, it's like half the price right now, the aftermarket ticket value, than that Chicago game. So Bears fans, they're passionate. It's going to be a hell of a matchup, but I think Cardinals win.
Really got to appreciate that passion from the Bears fan.
I love it.
Yeah.
That MP might be Greg Braggs Jr. Here he's back. Bears improved way more than Cards. Y'all. But you're playing. I don't like your head coach. I like Jonathan Gannon more than Matt Eberflus.
Yeah.
And I think Kyler Murray's a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. And I think, again, give him a chance, not off a torn ACL midseason, to showcase that. I think the Bears have a good roster. I just don't buy a rookie quarterback coming into State Farm Stadium and winning a game 2 months into his career. I just don't buy it.
Yeah. And look, Marvin Harrison Jr. is better than Roma Dunze. Just, you can accept that too.
I also feel like again, last year, the Bears could have ran the ball 60 times at the Cardinals, and they would have beaten the Cardinals with what the Cardinals trotted out. The Bears really didn't even need to throw the ball that game.
Right.
So we're talking about quarterback versus quarterback, head coach versus head coach.
Right.
It'll be fun. MP will see you this fall. Come back for that week of the chat.
Did you see the engagement farming that was going on today? I think we were tagged in it at PHNX Cardinals. Was it ML Football that put it out there? The start, bench, or cut Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson.
Oh my God.
Well, I
How
mean,
egregious was it?
no, it was. I mean, if you look at the replies, I mean, it's the consensus is Kyler Murray, which is the right move.
Yeah.
And I mean, only did a few times that I see some people take Russell Wilson. So it was, start Kyler for the most part, bench Russ, and then cut Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson, I think, is the worst of the three, given the fact he has not looked good since he's come back. Russell, you at least feel like can keep the train on the tracks. Kyler Murray has the most upside. I think people agree with that. MP's back saying Gannon won 4 games. What are we talking about? Matt Eberflus won 3 games the year before in his first year and had the #1 pick. Jonathan Gannon, without his quarterback, won 1 game. His quarterback came back. They won 3 of their last, what was it? They went 3 and 5. They went,
with his quarterback, he basically went 500. And Eberflus hasn't coached his way out of the top 10 of the NFL draft.
Eberflus was so bad his first year. They had the #1 pick, and he had Justin Fields running around. It was insane. Jonathan Gannon had to play with Joshua Dobbs and Clayton Tune for 2/3 of the season. MP saying name one better position group than the Bears. Again, I am going off of. I think the Cardinals have a better quarterback and a head coach.
I would say the offensive line.
Running back, better running back.
They overpaid. They overpaid for was it DeAndre Swift?
Trey McBride is certainly better than Cole Kmet.
They have a better tight end. That's right, Jacob. They have a better offense. I'm sorry. They have a better offense. They have a better infrastructure because of who is leading it right now. Not Caleb Williams as a rookie. I mean, do you think Caleb Williams is going to have a CJ Stroud type of rookie season? Because you need that to happen to fulfill your expectations. I don't think that's happening. I look at the NFC North, MP. I mean, the Vikings roster-wise, very competitive. And the Lions and the Packers were almost in the NFC Championship game together. That's a tall hill to climb. Very similar to what the Cardinals have to deal with.
Yeah. MP, if you want to, get deeper into this conversation, become a diehard today.
Yeah.
Why not?
Keep spending money.
Yeah.
Just do it on the website.
Take some of that super chat dough that you're spending today. Become a PHNX diehard. Get into the exclusive member Discord. It's just one of the many perks of becoming a diehard. That's right. You get full access to the entire site. Go PHNX.com. It's something that you're going to want to get in now, because come training camp, myself, Craig Morgan, we're going to be dropping some nice little nuggets in there that you're going to have access to that not everybody's going to have access to. If you missed out on the 999 challenge, don't miss out on anything else. Again, if you do become a member, a Go PHNX diehard, you get a free t-shirt each and every year. That basically, cuts the price in half. You're getting a free t-shirt, make it maybe the MHJ Kyler Murray math tee, get the Maserati Marv tee like Johnny has today, or the MHJ tee, or one of the other many PHNX locker merchandise items that you can find that are always so nice. Look at that. The 18 collection. Get 1/3 of the 18 collection for free by becoming a diehard today.
Best thing we've ever done. The locker. I'm biased, of course. MP's back. $199. Kyler ain't done nothing since Hopkins be real. Okay. I think he's showed last year he's a franchise quarterback.
He basically went 500 with the worst roster in the league.
He was hurt the year before. He tore his ACL. And then the year before that, he was in the playoffs. And he was rookie of the year and made 2 Pro Bowls. Like, can we let him come back from an ACL? He lost the season to an ACL. He's coming back this year. Can we evaluate him then? He's only in his mid-20s. Like, does he feel like he has more to accomplish? I would say so. I don't think his career is over. Fields isn't even, we know Fields isn't on the Bears. This is fun. I love this for the offseason. Big Red 6, $2. Bears ain't done nothing since 2011, be real. They haven't won a playoff game since 2011. I think so. They've had a lot of missed field goals in the postseason. Mitch Trubisky had more playoff appearances than Justin Fields. And we're not sitting here saying that Mitch Trubisky is better than Justin Fields.
Right.
But just like, watch football with your eyes. Kyler Murray has a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Kyler Murray, when he plays, at the end of the day, was with Cliff Kingsbury and took him to the postseason in the division with Kyle Shanahan, Pete Carroll, and Sean McVay. Like Justin Fields last year, it was tailor-made for the Chicago Bears to make the playoffs. They were everybody's darling. and they fell flat on their face and everybody laughed at them. And they were beating Carolina and Minnesota by 2 points in the teens. I mean, they were a joke of a team. So we go through, as my co-host said, every year we do this with the Jets and the Bears and the Broncos.
Right.
But let's check back in around Thanksgiving and to see if they're viable or not.
Right. Let's not discount the head coaching position. Let's not say, hey, it's just going to translate from the Pac-12 immediately to the NFL level. Like I got high expectations for Caleb, but at the same time, like this Bears team, they've been rebuilding for a while. It hasn't gelled yet, and just to think that it's gonna, miraculously just take a turn for the better. Like I like what they did with their pass rush. They added Sweat, transforms things for that defense. Jalen Johnson keeping him, that was the right move. But come on,
Matty Eberflus was beating Arthur Smith isn't on the schedule every week this year. Matty Eberflus and whomever the interim coach is in Carolina, like that's Matty Eberflus. Jonathan Gannon went into Pittsburgh and pushed around Mike Tomlin's team with a bottom 3 roster in the NFL.
Yeah,
MP saying 199. Be prepared for a top 5 pick in 2025.
Yeah, Dre 499. We're converting fan bases. Go buy that Kyler jersey. You want to. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the move right there.
What else is the move? How about joining us? I mentioned it earlier in Miami for our Miami takeover. Are you guys ready with True Fan Travel to hit the beach? Hollywood Beach, South Beach, Florida, myself, Bo Brock, Damon Dog, the GM Saul Bookman, and more. We are taking over the great state of Florida in the PHNX road trip to Miami, October 25th through the 28th, as the Arizona Cardinals take on Tua, Tyreek, and more. We get to see our buddy Mike McDaniel live and in person. And it's not just the game, folks. We've got a booze cruise. We've got an alumni event. Everything is set up for you to have a great time with our friends at True Fan Travel. I'm talking airport transportation, flights, accommodations, a hotel on the beach, poolside. It's everything you want late in October. One-stop shop with packages starting as low as $12.99. And you can sign up now, space out your payments over the course of 4 months. We got a bunch of people going. We got spots available. We want to see you, the diehards, the members of this community with us partying in South Beach. Again, it's not going to be a one-off where you see Bo and Damon and I for like 5 minutes and then we go and we do our own thing. No. We're hanging out all weekend. Everybody was giving us love for the 9-9-9 challenge over the weekend. It's going to be an extension of that for 4 days in South Beach. Damon may not make it out alive, frankly.
Yeah, he's not. Well, he's going to make it out. He's going to wife up. I think we've already determined he's going to get married on that trip. Do you want to be part of the bridal party? Well, you got to get in right now. TrueFanTravel.com. Also check out gophnx.com/events. You can find a link there. You don't want to miss out on this. True Fan Travel takes out all the heavy lifting for you. You basically lock it in, and then all you're doing is packing your suitcase and boarding a flight to Miami. It's not just exclusive to listeners right now in Phoenix. Wherever you are around the country, we'll get you to South Beach to enjoy this showdown with the Fins late October.
MP just attempting to dunk on this show. This might be the most ironic super chat we've ever had. Producer Jacob, $4.99. All y'all saying the Bears are trash. Arizona is last thought in the NFL. Nobody cares about y'all. How many primetime games y'all got? Bottom feeders. You have donated to this bottom feeding show with the bottom feeding Arizona Cardinals upwards of $15. We appreciate you caring and helping out PHNX Sports and fortifying this fan base, this great fan base here.
You fuel us, MP.
Thank you, MP. We appreciate you. Bo Brock, Hard Knocks tonight. You watching it? New York Giants?
I already saw a clip where they started talking Brian Burns trade. Kind of drew me in a little bit. It was at the Senior Bowl. He's talking with Carolina Panthers, but I don't know if it's something I'm going to probably pop on like right after the premiere. But I'm a sicko and I'll watch it at some point.
You mentioned earlier in the show accountability. All I remember about that is Michael Bidwell having to talk to the team while Cliff Kingsbury stood there during Hard Knocks because people weren't studying or people weren't coming in on time or people were late for meetings. And I'm like, that we have reached peak Hard Knocks. It was the propaganda that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing will top that for me. That show is tainted forever, in my opinion.
Yeah. But on Hard Knocks, nobody's talking about them. They're bottom feeders. At least we're not trying to like dress up this guy who sucks at quarterback as a starting quarterback, and you're going to get a first round pick for him, and he gets dealt for a conditional 6th or 7th round pick. Come on, like who's a more realistic fan base of what their football team actually is?
There's 100% likelihood that MP was Team Justin Fields in January. That the Caleb Williams avatar has since been changed post-draft, and it used to be one Justin Fields. As the last super chat of the day from whom else? MP 199, quote, "Money is nothing to me. You all in the chat are broke." I am broke of these takes. I'm bankrupt of these takes. I can't listen to any more. But it's been a banner show here.
It has. I'm glad money means nothing. You can just continually buy a new Bears quarterback jersey every couple of years. Huge for you, MP. We do appreciate it, though. Hey, every opposing fans are welcome here, including you, MP. We appreciate the banter. We've also appreciate all those in the chat that are here on a daily basis, or those who don't participate in the chat. You're great as well. Thank you. Like this video. If you're listening on your podcast, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Leave a 5-star rating. Leave a review. It does wonders for us. And tomorrow, we got our guy Craig Morgan returning. He's got a banger of a story. We can't wait for you all to read. He's going to give you the latest on it and even more. Tomorrow's PHNX Cardinals. For producer Jacob and Johnny Venerable, I'm Bo Brock. We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.